All right, let's talk about something that so many people feel but maybe don't talk about enough. We're going to call it the middle-class money trap. And today, we're going to figure out how to break it.
Does this hit a little too close to home? You do everything you're supposed to. You save your money, you contribute to your retirement accounts, you work hard. But when you really stop and look around, you realize your day-to-day life hasn't fundamentally changed. You're still stressed about money, still just kind of getting by. And that's the really frustrating part, isn't it? You've been following the rules, playing the game exactly how they told you to, but that feeling of real progress, of real financial freedom, it's just not there. Well, if you feel that way, you're not alone. And it's not an accident. You've been caught in a trap you probably didn't even know existed. And that's the core of what we're digging into today, the middle-class money trap. We're going to break down exactly why doing the normal things with your money is like running on a financial treadmill. You're putting in all the effort, but you're not actually going anywhere.
Now, let me be really, really clear about something. This is not about blaming you. It's not about your work ethic or your discipline. The problem isn't the effort you're putting in. The problem is the framework, the set of rules that you've been taught to follow. And frankly, that framework is broken.
So let's pull back the curtain on 6 things that we're all told are smart money moves. These are the socially accepted mistakes that feel right, but are actually, quietly, sabotaging your ability to build real wealth. Okay, first up, and this one's a biggie. We confuse saving with making progress. Look, we're all taught to be good savers, but saving is really just parking your money. It's defensive. It protects what you have. Progress, on the other hand, is about growing your money. It's about offense. It's about building. Saving might feel productive, but real progress actually is productive. And if you need proof, just look at the math. If you've got 50 grand sitting in a standard savings account, after you factor in inflation, you're losing about $1,250 in buying power every single year. You're literally going backward. So yeah, an emergency fund is essential, but having too much cash just sitting there, it's a silent killer for your wealth. Now, you're probably thinking, hold on, I don't just save, I invest. And that's fantastic. But that leads us straight into mistake number 2, investing passively instead of strategically. See, there's a huge difference between just auto-deducting money into your 401k and having an actual strategy where you know what's happening with your money. And the difference is staggering. Just check this out. Let's say you invest $500 a month for 30 years. At an 8% return, you've got almost $750,000. But if your return is only 5%, maybe because of high fees or just making a few bad emotional choices, you end up with just over $400,000. That's a $300,000 difference for the exact same amount of work and savings. Strategy matters a lot. And you know what usually causes that underperformance? Well, that's mistake number 3, letting fear, disguised as logic, control your decisions. For most of us, the biggest threat to our investment portfolio isn't a market crash, it's our own brain. Our brains are hardwired for survival, not for long-term investing. So when the market gets scary, our brain just screams, get out, do something. And that leads to all the classic blunders. We buy when everyone else is buying because of FOMO, and we sell when everyone is panicking. But so often, the absolute best move you can make is to do nothing at all. I love this analogy. Think about it. Investing is like being on an airplane flying through turbulence. It gets bumpy, it's scary, it feels like something is wrong. But the people who jump out of their seats and run for the exit don't make it. The ones who land safely are the ones who trust the plane, stay buckled in, and just ride it out. Okay, let's talk about a really controversial one. Mistake number 4. We have all heard this. Pay off all your debt before you even think about investing. I mean, it sounds so responsible, right? So grown up. But here's the thing. It's not always the smartest move. It all comes down to something called opportunity cost. Just look at these numbers. Let's say you put an extra $500 a month towards your 4% mortgage. Over 20 years, you save about 120 grand in interest. Pretty good. But what if you invested that same $500 a month and got an 8% return? You could end up with almost $300,000. That's a $175,000 difference. Being debt-free feels great, but it doesn't automatically build wealth. Oh man, this next one, I think we're all a little guilty of this. Mistake number 5 is lifestyle inflation that we disguise as deserved upgrades. You get a raise, you get a bonus, so naturally you get a nicer car, a bigger house, more expensive vacations. I mean, you earned it, right? And you did. but that one habit quietly eats away the exact money that was supposed to buy your freedom later. This is where we have to totally redefine what financial freedom even is. It's not about how much money you make. It's not about your salary. True financial freedom is about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap, that's your freedom fund. The wider you can make it and the more you invest it, the freer you become. And that brings us to our final mistake. And honestly, this one might be the most dangerous of all. It's this quiet belief that, as long as I just stick with the plan, time will fix everything. It'll all work out in the end. But here's the cold, hard truth. Time doesn't fix a broken system, it just amplifies it. Think of it like a megaphone. If you have a great strategy, time will make the results incredible. But if your strategy is flawed, if it's built on low returns and high fees and emotional decisions, then all that time does is make the bad result even bigger. Okay, so we've torn down the old, broken framework. Now, let's build the new one. Let's talk about what an intentional path to real financial progress actually looks like. This is all about switching from just hoping for the best to intentionally designing your financial future. So here it is. 1. You cap your cash savings at 3 to 6 months of expenses, and you invest everything else. 2. You stop focusing on just how much you contribute, and you start obsessing over your real returns after inflation and fees. 3. You automate your investing so you can't get in your own way. 4. You start prioritizing assets that actually produce an income, not just things you hope will go up in price. 5. You fiercely, aggressively protect that gap between your income and your spending. And 6. You start thinking in decades, not years. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And you see, when you put all this together, it leads to this huge shift in what you're even aiming for. The goal isn't just to be stable. The goal is to be free. And as we've just seen, those are two very, very different things. And if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. You don't need a bigger paycheck. You don't need to get lucky with some stock pick. You just need a better framework for the money you're already making. This is a strategy problem, not a circumstance problem. So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that's so obsessed with how things look on the outside, remember the real goal. The goal isn't to look successful. The goal is to actually be free.